Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock. I'm Jamie Shaw with your news. Over £200,000 worth of cannabis has been seized from a property in Burslem. Police discovered the cannabis farm accidentally after originally dealing with a reported burglary next door. Rory Smith reports.
Inside this house, around 200 5-foot-tall cannabis plants were found, with an estimated street value of £150,000 to £200,000. A 37-year-old man was arrested in the early hours of Wednesday morning.
Rory Smith, Staff's Live.
A man has been sentenced to 13 years in prison for raping a 15-year-old girl in Tamworth. The incident took place in 1983. David Crook was sentenced at Stafford Crown Court yesterday. 4 men will serve more than 17 years behind bars for sexually exploiting teenage girls in Burton-on-Trent. The 5 girls aged 13 and 14 were abused over 3 months. Dasha Smith has more.
4 men have been sentenced at Stafford Crown Court after pleading guilty to 22 offences back in February. They'll also be on the sex offenders register for life. Tayyib Hussain of Shubnal Street, Mohammed Rizwan of Derby Road, Shaheem Ratail of Grange Street, and Sahil Raja Ali of Weston Park Avenue will serve a total of more than 17 years behind bars. The 5 girls, aged only 13 and 14 at the time of the offences, were sexually abused between December 2016 and March 2017. The senior investigating officer from the Force's Child Sexual Exploitation Team, Simon Carton, says tackling child sexual exploitation and sexual abuse remains an absolute priority. Dasha Smith, Staff's Live.
The MOT test is changing from the 20th of May with new classifications, tougher emission tests and higher standards for diesel engines. Joe Thompson has been getting his hands dirty at a local garage.
For most motorists, getting an MOT is a relatively simple process, but from the 20th of May this year, that process is about to change. MOTs will no longer operate on a pass-fail system, but will instead be grouped into 5 separate categories.
MOT results will now be grouped into 5 different categories, 3 for fail and 2 for pass. A car will be able to fail an MOT with a major fault, a minor fault, or be deemed as a dangerous vehicle. Cars will still be able to pass an MOT, but now may also pass with an advisory, meaning owners will be given tips on how to prevent problems for their vehicle in the future.
On an old car now, I would say get your car MOT now, while you've still got time, because you're then going to have a car that is going to be in a saleable condition because you'll have an MOT on it and you'll be able to get rid of it. If you're going to be driving around in, like a lot of people do, sort of £500, £1,000 cars with any of these faults on, you're possibly going to get to the point where these cars are going to be rendered uneconomical to repair. And that's going to be the big fear for a lot of people, I would have thought, especially if you are in that bracket where you need a cheap car.
The new test will be enforcing a crackdown on diesel car emissions. If a diesel car puts out any smoke whatsoever, it will fail its MOT. Cars will undergo more rigorous checks for underinflated tyres, faulty reverse lights and damaged brake pads. It's possible that these new high standards may dissuade people from getting an MOT altogether.
Certain aspects will improve road safety, will improve emissions, but I think what it will do is it will put a lot of cars on the road that will probably be in an illegal state.
If your car needs an MOT, it might be best to get it done before the 20th of May, as in the future, getting an MOT might be a little bit more confusing. Joe Thompson, Staff's Live. Marvellous.
Now, with both Stoke City and Port Vale potentially facing relegation from their football leagues, some fans are turning to their faith to save the teams. King's Hall in Stoke held a civic prayer breakfast where over 300 people attended to pray for the clubs. The Lord Mayor Ross Irvine believes the faith of the fans could help the team's survival.
Well, it's absolutely a wonderful event. I mean, here we are. I think it's 8 years from the first prayer breakfast, to which we had 60 people attend in 2010, and now we are in 2018 over 300. So it's, I suppose, it tells its own success story. It's building on year, and more people are coming. And I was rather amused on the menu. It said we're going to have a prayer for both Stoke City and Port Vale, which I thought we've reached a particular level now if we're having to offer prayers for the 2 football clubs, but let's hope that's successful.
Everyone's here for the annual Civic Prayer Breakfast. We began in 2010 with our first breakfast with 60 guests. This year it's our biggest ever. We have 300 guests. people from faith groups, community groups, civic, business leaders, and we're here to enjoy breakfast, but we're also here to pray. We believe as Christians that God answers prayer, so we want to pray for God's blessing on Stoke-on-Trent. We're praying for football. As I've said, you can't make a theology out of God blessing football teams, but you know, football is really important to the life of the city. It's important to people's morale, to the feel-good factor, as well as to economic development. So we want to pray that God will bless both Port Vale and Stoke City, and if possible, we're praying that Stoke wouldn't be relegated.
Now, though, over to Abigail with the sport.
Thank you, Jamie. Stoke City manager Paul Lambert has been speaking to the press this afternoon ahead of this weekend's clash against Burnley. Nathan Bliss is live now at the Bet365 Stadium. Nathan, what has Lambert had to say?
Thanks, Abby. I'm here at the Bet365. We just come out of Paul Lambert's press conference. First question he was asked was about Arsene Wenger and his say Arsenal coming to an end at the end of this season. He was very respectful in his praise and he said he deserves more credit than he's currently getting. But he is focused on his side's next game against Burnley on Sunday. And he says they need 3 wins out of their last 4 games in order to survive. But he does admit their last result against West Ham was a real kick in the teeth for his men.
We've been playing really well. Really well. The 2 match game on the top end of the pitch.
Thank you.
We've created really good chances in order, and I think we had to take the chance to create them. So that little bit of final pass or bit of proposal in the box, we
That's all from us. Back to you, Abby.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Nathan. Port Vale boss Neil Aspin says his side's season has been a disappointment no matter the result against Mansfield this weekend. The Valiants sit 9 points above the relegation zone with 3 games to go.
You know, whatever happens in the next 3 games, it's been a disappointing season, and 3 positive results is not going to change that. But what it'll do is it'll just prove that the players that play in those games can do a job, and it doesn't do anybody any good by finishing the season with a whimper. And we've got to make sure that we compete in all the games.
Now to non-league news. Kidsgrove Athletic manager Ryan Austin is planning to strengthen his squad next season in order to be more competitive. Shahed Poppet has more.
Kidsgrove Athletic have had a tough season, but have avoided the possibility of relegation. Austin and his backroom staff have already started preparations for next season.
We've been planning behind the scenes for a couple of weeks now, if not longer. I mean, me and Will we've had quite multiple discussions along with obviously the board and stuff like that. We know that we're going to have to recruit. We know that we've probably slightly underachieved this season if we're being realistic, and we want to be more competitive next season.
Austin believes strengthening his squad is the key to making his team more competitive.
I expect us to be competitive. I don't see any reason why we don't do. If we go out and get the players that we need to between now and the end of the season, now and the start of the season, that we'll be competitive next year.
The Grove have 3 remaining fixtures and will be looking to finish above local rivals Newcastle Town. Shahed Poppet, Staff Slave.
A local snooker star is making his World Championship debut this weekend as Staffordshire-based Liam Highfield has qualified for the sports event. Liam Kelsall has more.
Liam Highfield will be going from playing at the Reardon Snooker Club in Hanley to the Crucible on Sunday as he makes his World Championship debut. The 27-year-old qualified this week to book a first-round tie against Masters champion Mark Allen, despite being tipped as an outsider at 500 to 1 to lift the trophy. Highfield will be hoping to make his return to Reardon with the gold. Liam Kelsall, Staffs Live.
That's all your sport for today. Handing back over to Jamie.
Thank you, Abigail. Hanley Continental Market is back for another year with shoppers flooding the stalls throughout the week. Etty Long spoke to market leaders about what the occasion means to them.
We're here in Hanley Town Centre where they've recently set up a new continental market. The market is running till Saturday and we've decided to speak to a couple of market traders.
It's all Cheshire cheese and it's all blended cheese. We sell this all up and down the country. And we've been doing this since 2010 and it's giving us a nice living at the moment, so fingers crossed everything carries on the high streets, get busier. Fingers crossed everybody has a nice time.
I bring a little selection of the home cooking we do in my country. Every time we come it's getting better.
Right, we're selling mead, we're doing plain mead and we're doing 13 different flavours.
After a fine evening, it will stay dry tonight with often clear skies and the only odd cloud. That's all for now. Bye.
Yeah.